You can't do this, Michael. I can and I will. I can do anything. But this business, it's running on my money. It was opened with the money I made from selling my apartment. Can you even prove otherwise? Do you have money for lawyers? What's going on? I don't understand. We're husband and wife, aren't we? All right, he said. Let me explain this for the especially gifted. When we got married, we were young and stupid. I realized pretty quickly you were a simpleton. But back then, it didn't matter. Now that I'm handling serious business, I need a different kind of wife. Someone who fits my status. A woman who looks like a model. Someone who reflects my position. And you? You're just a cook. Lily stared at her husband in disbelief. Was this really coming from him? Michael suddenly burst into laughter, wiping his eyes with a handkerchief. Oh, so when I was selling my apartment, I was good enough for you? When I was handling your accounting, finding your clients, managing everything, you were fine with me then, right? And when I catered to your every need, then I was suitable? But now, suddenly, I'm not, she asked, heart pounding. You do have a few brain cells after all, he sneered. But get this straight, you don't belong here anymore. Michael laughed again, loud and crude. I understand, Lily said coldly. But just so you know, you're not getting away with this. I'm still registered in this apartment. If anyone's leaving, it's you. She walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. Michael scoffed. Pointless. You know I'll kick you out anyway, he shouted after her. Then he grabbed his coat and left, probably off to visit his model. Let him. He's the king now, and Lily's just the dishwasher. But we'll see who ends up scrubbing toilets, she thought, clenching her fists until her knuckles went white. Time passed. The kind of business Michael had started was unique in the city, so it thrived for several years. But recently, a new company had emerged, and in just a month, it had already lured away several major clients. That morning, Michael had received a report that completely ruined his mood. He was furious, defeated. He even left the office early. Olivia, his new flame, met him at the door. Babe, you look awful. What happened? You've been talking about taking me to the sea for months, and you're still not following through. What about the wedding? She whined. I'm having some business problems. But don't worry. Soon everything will be back on track. You'll have your sea and seagulls dancing on the waves, he said, trying to soothe her. You have problems? Olivia's voice grew serious. Big ones? A little, nothing to stress over. Michael forced a smile. But Olivia didn't want problems. She wasn't made for them. She wanted luxury, not drama. What's for dinner? Michael asked. I don't know. I'm hungry too, she mumbled. What do you mean? Didn't the maid cook? I let her go. What? That's the third one in 3 months. Well then, cook it yourself. I'm taking a shower. I want dinner ready when I'm out. He snapped and stormed off. He was livid. Work was a mess, and now even at home there was no peace. What did Olivia even do all day? When Michael came out of the shower, the apartment was eerily quiet. Where was Olivia? He walked to the kitchen, assuming she was prepping dinner, but it was empty. No food, no Olivia. His blood boiled. He called her. Where are you? He asked, barely holding back his anger. Out for a walk, Olivia answered calmly. And dinner? I'm not your maid. If you're hungry, go to a restaurant. Or order a pizza if you're broke, she replied, full of sass. Come home now. We need to talk, Michael demanded. Say what you need to say now, she replied, clearly not planning on returning. Remember the money I gave you for the house renovations? I need it back, urgently. Silence. I'll return it when things settle down. You mean you don't have it? Nope. You didn't even buy anything. I don't know how it ran out. What, do I have to account for every penny? And with that, Olivia hung up. No matter how many times Michael tried to call her back, the line stayed dead. He found some meat patties in the fridge and started chewing on them lifelessly. And then he thought of Lily. She would have never done this. The house was always spotless. Dinner was always delicious, and she somehow managed everything: work, home, him. His thoughts were interrupted by a phone call. It wasn't Olivia. It was a longtime client. In a cold tone, the client said their contract was ending and wouldn't be renewed. Michael almost dropped the phone. "The fish always seeks deeper waters. You understand me?" the client added before hanging up. Michael threw his phone on the table in frustration. He didn't even want to eat anymore. He sat down, his mind racing. In the morning, Michael took out a massive loan. As collateral, he left the documents for his house. But when he arrived at work, another surprise was waiting. His best IT specialist was quitting. "David, why? Haven't I paid you well enough?" Michael asked, bewildered. "I found another job," David replied curtly. That was the end. Everything had been built on David's shoulders. Michael's company collapsed like a house of cards. The loan money vanished like water, and Olivia, after briefly returning, helped spend what little remained. A couple of months later, a representative from the bank visited him. Michael was clearly told that if he didn't repay the debt within 3 days, he'd lose his house. But Michael didn't care anymore. He figured he could live in the office. Unlike Olivia, she was rarely home now. And then it hit him. Lily would never have let him put the house up as collateral. She would have found a way to negotiate with clients and suppliers. After all, she was the one who originally brought them in. Where was she now? What was she doing? When Olivia found out Michael was moving into the office, she packed her things. Michael didn't stop her. That night, sleeping at the office, Michael realized he couldn't go on like this. He had to act. He instructed his assistant to find the director of the rival company and schedule a meeting to clear the air. The assistant left. Michael was flooded with nostalgia. What was he missing in his life before? What had he ever seen in that empty-headed Olivia? Now he had no Lily, no Olivia, no home, and no business. He didn't know how long he sat there thinking. The assistant returned. "They've agreed to meet," he said cheerfully, "at 7 p.m. in the restaurant by the river." Michael dove into work. He needed data, numbers, proof of mutual benefit from cooperation. He was interrupted by Olivia, who burst into the office. Her new boyfriend had just dumped her, but Michael told her he had no use for such a refined lady anymore. Fuming, Olivia stormed out. Time for the meeting was near. Michael had prepared thoroughly. He got out of the taxi, walked into the restaurant, and was immediately greeted by the host and escorted to a table. There were two people already seated, a man and a woman. As Michael looked closer, his face went pale. He would have given anything to disappear on the spot. There was no way back. It was Lily, and next to her, David, the computer genius. "Well, well, looks like things are going well for you two. Love is in the air, huh?" Michael muttered sarcastically, burning with rage. He turned to a passing waiter. "I have a meeting here. You brought me to the wrong table." "Sorry, sir," the waiter began, but then Lily spoke up. "There's no mistake. The meeting is with me." Her voice was calm. "I own the rival company now." "You ruined me," Michael shouted. "This is business, Michael. You know how it works. I used the money I made from selling my apartment. Yes, the same apartment that helped launch your business. And you threw me out on the street with nothing. I actually know this market very well. All the clients and suppliers, I found them. They want to work with me. To them, you're nobody. You miscalculated, husband. But I'm not surprised. You're exactly where you belong." "Justice has finally been served," Lily said sharply. Michael's carefully rehearsed plan was in ruins. And where's your pretty model now? Lily suddenly asked. Laugh it up, heartless woman. Michael exploded, drawing glances from nearby tables. I just started a business, that's all. Lily replied with a smirk. You've got no one to blame but yourself, Mikey. You don't get to teach me anything, Michael hissed, pale with rage. So why did you want to meet anyway? Lily shifted the conversation. Michael stayed silent. He already knew he'd need to swallow his pride and say the right words, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it. He stood there as David and Lily rose from their seats. That's when Michael noticed the ring on Lily's hand, not the one he once gave her, another one. As Lily stood up, Michael was stunned. She was pregnant. Well, looks like you didn't waste any time, he sneered, but didn't get to finish. A fist smashed into his face and sent him crashing to the floor. David stood over him, rubbing his knuckles. Don't you ever insult my wife again, he growled. Let's go, honey, Lily said, taking David's hand as they left. Michael staggered out too. He sat on a bench along the riverbank, nursing his jaw and deep in thought. When the soul aches, you've got to find the cause, a voice said nearby. Michael looked up and saw a homeless man sitting next to him. He pondered the words. Then the man wandered off, and Michael was left wondering, where did I go wrong? Yes, he had done everything wrong. He took everything for himself, even what never belonged to him. He had taken away Lily's chance to live peacefully in the home she loved so much, and God had punished him for it. Michael suddenly understood. It was clear now. He had to do the right thing. He had to follow his conscience. Lily and David were having tea. They had only recently bought this apartment. It was small, but they needed a place to live. Lily loved her husband deeply, and in just a few months, their home had become warm and cozy. It didn't even feel like a typical Soviet-era apartment anymore. The doorbell rang. David went to answer it. There were voices in the hallway. Someone was arguing. Lily got up to see what was happening, but before she could reach the door, Michael walked into the kitchen, followed closely by an angry David. Lily looked at her ex-husband in surprise. He wasn't wearing his usual sharp business suit, just some rugged outdoor clothes. Michael took off his backpack and pulled out some papers. Lily, listen. I realized I was a complete idiot, a fool, all of it. I know I can't change the past, but I truly want you to be happy. These are the documents for the company. There's not much left, but what's there rightfully belongs to you, Michael said. Lily looked at him, confused and silent. I should have done this from the beginning, he added. It's all signed. It's yours. He handed her the papers. And you? Lily asked, still in shock. I'm leaving. I'll start another business somewhere else. That's it. Goodbye. He turned and walked briskly toward the door. Lily was speechless. David caught up to him and stopped him for a moment. No hard feelings. I wish you luck, David said calmly. Michael gave a quick nod and jogged down the stairs. A new life awaited him. He had just closed the door on the old one, and he didn't know if he would ever come back. But did it even matter? There was no one and nothing left for him here, and he had no one to blame but himself. The most important thing now was to never make the same mistakes again.